Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have Charles Robinson Sneed here with me today. How you doing, Charles?
Hey, man, I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Quick question out of the blue, just for entertainment purposes.
Sure.
How do you feel about coffee?
How do I feel about coffee? I actually love coffee.
Really?
Coffee, yeah. I'm definitely a coffee drinker.
Okay.
I've been looking into possibly even researching more about it. But yeah, I love coffee, man.
Man, you know what? I found this product. It's called a Nutella latte, right?
Okay.
And it tastes amazing. I don't even like Nutella, but ever since I tried this thing, I've been buying it every single day. But it makes my stomach hurt, man.
Where's it from?
It's from this real expensive coffee place down the street, man. I paid like $10 for this thing, man.
That's deep.
But you know, coffee, for all the things that people say about it, it doesn't really make me feel good. It's just something to do. So I just figured I'd throw that in there real quick.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a lover of coffee for sure.
Okay. Well, I mean, what's your favorite? What types of stuff you like?
Oh man, I definitely prefer dark roast.
Okay. Me too.
I prefer dark roast, and I actually recently been drinking my coffee black, without creamer or anything in it. So I'm getting more into that, trying to mature my palate a little bit.
Right. You know, I was doing the same thing. I had an uncle who used to drink his coffee black. I don't even think he used to. Yolanda says, "We love our coffee, but I ain't drinking that $10 coffee." I'm taking another swig on your behalf. But yeah, he used to drink black coffee. I don't even remember him putting sugar in it. But if he would catch you drinking a cup of coffee that was like light brown or anything like that, because you put in creamer and sugar, he'd take it and throw it in the trash and just be dogging you out all morning like you acting soft or something like that. So, yeah, I drank black coffee too. I did that for a little while.
I actually used to drink my coffee with a lot of creamer, and then my friends used to make fun of me. They used to say, "You want some? I want some coffee with that creamer."
Yeah, exactly.
Creamer in there.
Yeah, so that was just a thought, man. I'm walking down the street buying this coffee every day. It's not even making me feel good. I just like the taste. It's a mental health thing. Hey, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this man Charles Sneed, he is a very valuable person to our community, and he and I are going to get into a conversation about mental health today. What is it? Where is it in our community, and where does it need to go? But before we get to that, a few house opportunities for us all, please. If you would locate us, our TV show page on Facebook, America's Next Motivator, like and follow there. Find us on YouTube at Cedric Riley or America's Next Motivator. Be a part of our community. Be a part of these daily conversations. Contribute, drop comments, tell your friends what we're doing. Now, Charles, can you tell me about where you're from?
Yes, I'm actually from a very small town in Sussex County, Delaware. It's Laurel. The town is called Laurel, Delaware. It's a little small country town. Definitely, like when I was growing up there, it was definitely like, dirt road or like, very underdeveloped and things of that sort. Very homey town. Everybody knows everybody. One elementary school, one intermediate school, one middle school, one high school. Everybody goes to the same school. So It was very, very inter-community, very small, very country, just very old.
That's interesting. Hold on. I mean, that's interesting right out the gate. There are dirt roads in Delaware?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Wow. Okay, because I think DMV area, I think high development, I think culture hubs, and I don't think dirt roads when I think of Delaware.
No, even when I go back home now, like to visit my mother, like the newest form of development in my hometown is like a Royal Farms. It's
Wow.
like,
Okay.
we don't have much of anything, too much in there. So yeah, that was life for me growing up. Very, very small, very old, very humble.
Right. Yep. And you know what? Those sorts of environments really give way to some of the most brilliant minds
Sure.
that you can possibly have. The quality of life when you have space. I mean, your night sky must be that much clearer, out there. And Royal Farms got pretty good chicken, by the way, too. For those people who might eat chicken. So, did you have neighbors close by? Were your neighbors far away? What was it?
Oh yeah, I grew up in essentially the projects. So the buildings is probably I think in my immediate unit, like right in my same building, was 3 other apartments, or probably 4 apartments in this one, but it was like connected to another building, and then next to that was I think like 4 more apartments. But the whole complex was, I don't even know how many apartments was in the whole like complex. But yeah, I essentially grew up in a project, so like my neighbor's like door was probably like 4 feet away from mine.
Right. How much talent was coming out of that area?
How much talent? Man, we actually had a lot of talent in my hometown. It's crazy because we actually used to have this term growing up because the town is called Laurel. So we used to have this term growing up called Laurel All-Stars because we had so much talent in our town, but people just never made it out. Whether it was sports, whether it was the arts, whether it was music, whether it was just anything, like people really never made it out of our town for real. Past a certain point. So we used to always just have like this term called Laurel All-Stars because we knew we had the talent. We just didn't have too many people having opportunities to take that talent to the next level or to the next place or, things of that sort.
Why do you feel like a lot of people weren't making it out of there with their talent?
To be honest with you, I think a few reasons. I think that, coming from a small town and the way that I did, I think that we have great imagination, but we don't always have the support or the tools for how to carry that imagination to a reality. So I think that, we can dream big, but how to get to that next place or the resources to get to that next place is not necessarily there. The support to get to that next place is not always there. And then sometimes we don't really believe in ourselves, to be honest with you, that we can actually make it to that next place and be sustainable there. Sometimes we want the idea of really what that success might look like, but actually putting in the work to get there sometimes can be a little bit hard. And when you think about the neighborhood I grew up in and the lives that people were living, it wasn't sweet. So it's like, you're thinking about trying to become like this NBA basketball player, but the whole time my mother is at home, just as an example, somebody's mom is at home with stage 4 cancer, or, you're talking about the brother that's going out to seek to try to become like this, next level engineer, but then, his big brother just got locked up in jail. So now he got to become the man in the house or whatever the case may be. So much stuff plays into the circumstances for why people don't take it to the next level or really, maximize their potential. And it's unfortunate, but yeah.
And you know what? Sometimes, and by the way, I see our viewers out there. How you doing, Yolanda? How you doing, Miss Doris? I see y'all out there. Everybody else that's tuning in, seen and unseen, we want to acknowledge you and say hello to you and drop comments, be a part of the conversation. When you talk about having the willingness to reach potential, I also think in that same light, do people think that success is not for me? It's not for me because look where I am. There's dirt roads around here. I live in the projects. So I'm not even gonna stretch my mind enough to believe that success is for me. Did you see that?
Yeah. I think I could definitely see that. I think more than that is I think that where I'm from, we had one definition of success. And I think that because we saw certain things as successful, we didn't deem ourselves already as successful. And I think that as I got older, I've been able to kind of like redefine what success means, because everybody has their own level of success. So for growing up in the hood where I'm from, like, you know, if I didn't graduate high school and go to college, then that means I'm unsuccessful, when that's not necessarily true. How about graduating from high school is a success? And how about that can be good enough for right now? And so that way, I think that can give you enough motivation to go to your next level. But if you look at success from a grand scheme of things, and you're always looking at these movie stars and you're always comparing yourself to these Hollywood people, you're never going to feel successful. So I think that it is important that we do redefine success and say, hey, you know what, I might not become a Hollywood movie star. Maybe that's not where I'm supposed to be, but how about, I'm at least, going to school to become a stage play actor, or maybe at least I am, becoming a second grade school teacher in my hometown to help the kids coming up, from where I'm from, to have a better perspective on life. Or maybe I'm investing this time in a nonprofit organization. That too is success. So I think sometimes we have this one definition of success that always tends to pigeonhole us into feeling like we're not successful, when that's not really factual to me.
And no, I totally agree with you. And it's not that, and I'm agreeing with you, it's not that because you decided to work with a nonprofit or give back to your community that, but that's success too, as if that's a lesser success.
Right.
That's just as big, if not bigger, in the grand scheme of things, because you're talking about, generational value.
Absolutely.
I look around at effective parents, coaches, local pastors, preachers, teachers, even your local pharmacists.
Yeah.
These are people who have a perpetual positive influence on generations of people.
Yeah.
And so I think that we need to expand our paradigm beyond, success is a rapper,
right,
or a sports player. How they say, run, jump, sing.
Oh yeah.
We got to expand our paradigm, because just like you're saying, success starts with you. Success starts in the heart.
Yeah.
If you're growing, that is success. I look at my children.
Yeah.
I look at my children. I gauge their success on whether or not they're growing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If your heart is beating, everything is not the same today as it was yesterday. That is success.
Yeah.
Did you have brothers and sisters growing up?
Absolutely. I was just about to say, I actually believe that my siblings are probably the most successful people I know.
Okay.
To be honest with you, like when I think about, like when we talk about redefining success, I think it really puts things in a different perspective for us. I have essentially 2 sisters and I have 3 brothers. And my eldest sibling is my older sister, whom my mother adopted. Then I have a brother who's right after her from my father, and then I have another brother from my mother, a sister, and then a little brother after me. So I have 5 siblings. So yeah, but my siblings, man. When you talk about perseverance, and when you talk about coming from where we come from, and just making your own story, making your own life, and living by your own rules, and not being bound by what society might even have out there for you. I think that my siblings could definitely be notified as some of the most successful people I know. My sister, since I was younger, my sister that's right above me, she's 3 years older than me. So I would never forget, since we were children, she's always talked about becoming a teacher, to the point that my sister really never gave my mom any problems. So it was always good. Whereas me and my brothers, we was, give my mom a run for her money. She just, I think we probably gave her first gray hairs, to be honest with you. But to the point to where when my brothers and I would get into trouble, at one point, our discipline and punishment was actually having to sit at this desk that my mom bought my sister, and have my sister teach us. That was like one of our punishments at one point, because my mom was like, I don't know what to do with y'all anymore. So to the point. And then she literally, my sister, man, she went and started going to school. She went to a college, a private school here in Delaware. And she ended up withdrawing after the first semester to go back home and help my mom out with financially. And so she went back home to work and help my mom out financially. Went to school part-time, taking like 1 or 2 classes a semester for 7 years.
Wow.
And earned her degree to become a teacher. And I think 2 years ago, she became a 2nd grade teacher. She just got a promotion to become a 4th grade teacher. And now she's in the master's program to get, her master's education.
Wow.
So my siblings, and I have a brother. One of my brothers, he's considered, according to law and things of that sort, considered a felon. But he has always loved trucks. He's always loved driving trucks. Ever since we were kids, he wanted his first car to be a truck. You know what I mean? He just always was infatuated with trucks. And now he has 2 sons that he's taking care of, and he's driving trucks for a living. And he just got a CDL license and everything of that sort. So when we talk about people, when we talk about success and life and perseverance, I definitely think that my siblings are, some of the most successful people I know.
Yep. Shout out to all the siblings out there who are doing their thing in life, not letting adversities get them down, and being people that you can look over at and say, "Hey, good morning, good day. I'm proud of you as well."
Yeah.
I definitely believe that sibling success is key, and I'm happy to hear you point out your siblings as successful people.
Sure.
Now, can you talk to me about what a day in your life was like? When you weren't sitting at your sister's table, taking lessons. What were you guys doing socially? What was the community like? What was going on?
Man, you taking me back.
Yeah, that's what we do here.
Oh man, listen. So where I grew up at, the neighborhood was called Carver Gardens. Okay. And it was, man, like I definitely appreciate just like being there. I remember waking up, if it was like a Saturday, we would always wake up and watch Saturday morning cartoons. Hey Arnold, Arthur, you know what I'm saying? The Saturday morning cartoons with our bowls of cereal, you know what I'm saying? Chilling and relaxing. Now, throughout the day, I'm pretty sure me and my little brother, we was fighting, Me and my little brother always. Me and my little brother was always at it. We actually at one point, my mom was at work, and my little brother and I got into a fight. And, the project stuff is like dumb cheap. It's just like, whatever. So we got into the hallway, and I think somewhere or another, his head hit the wall and it put a hole in the wall. So we took the calendar that was on the wall and moved it down to the bottom to kind of fold up, thinking that my mom wouldn't notice. And she came home and she was like, "Why is my calendar down on the floor?" She moved it and there was a hole there, and it was. So me and my little brother always fighting. So I'm pretty sure, on a regular day, my little brother and I would get into a fight. But other than that, man, you go out to the neighborhood. It was, to me, now that I think about it, I feel like it was super euphoric. It was just beautiful. It was jump rope, it was hopscotch, it was tag, it was hide and go seek, it was kickball. Where the tree was based or the green box was based. It was all of that amongst other things. Just growing up in a neighborhood that I grew up in, it was inevitable to see a fight, or it was inevitable to have to run to your house because people start shooting or things of that sort. So all of that was a part of it. But just as a kid, just walking around the neighborhood with your friends or your cousins, just like laughing, cracking jokes on each other, having just fun. The only fun that you really knew how to have because you didn't have a rec center or because you didn't have, any other opportunity that city kids might have. So we just made what we had.
So y'all grew up without a rec center.
Yeah.
Wow. So y'all were the rec center. So y'all must have had a heck of a brotherhood at that time.
Man, listen, you talking about basketball courts with no nets, no chains. You talking about having to put a quarter in a light machine so you can play ball at nighttime. You know what I'm saying? Like we that's what it was. And then from there we had one basketball court, which was probably probably more than 2 miles away from the neighborhood I lived in. So if you didn't have a car to get there, if you didn't have a ride, you was walking to the basketball court. you was gonna walk. You and your boys or your friends, your family, y'all was gonna walk that 2.5 miles to get to that basketball court if you didn't get a ride there. Yeah.
Hey man, you blew my mind when you said y'all had to put a quarter in the light machine.
Absolutely, man. Everybody know. We used to call them French's courts. It was like this grocery store called French's, and so there was a basketball court next to it. So we used to call it French's court. You put a quarter, I think it was a quarter or 2 quarters into that light machine. The lights come on, you can play ball all night.
You know what? When we talk about beginnings, you can never assume what somebody's beginnings were like.
For sure.
So when I'm listening to the elements that you all lived in when y'all were young, I've never heard of some of these things before.
Yeah.
That's why I love meeting new people. I love having conversations and learning about where people come from because y'all were putting a quarter in the light machine.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
And if I'm not mistaken, Delaware is the first state. Is that correct?
That's the first state, man. The small wonder. Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. So then what was, so how did that translate for you in terms of aspirations of who you wanted to be when you became an adult?
Well, to be honest with you, man, if I can be completely honest with you, for a long time, I didn't even know. Okay. For a long time, I because not too many people were really doing much or like stepping outside of the neighborhood, I really thought that my fate was to graduate and go back to the neighborhood. Okay. I really thought that all that life really had for me at one point, you know what I'm saying? I thought that all life had for me was, after graduating high school, then what? You get a job or, whatever the case may be, but you're just going to stay in this neighborhood. Now, even with that idea, I think that I held on to that because I thought that was my reality because that's what was happening in my neighborhood. But I would never forget, I always had just like this inner, just like unction that I wanted to get out. Like I knew I wanted to get out, but I just didn't know what that meant or what that looked like. I knew I didn't want to stay in the experience of what I was growing up in. I knew I felt like I just wanted more for myself, for my life, and for my community. And I also knew that I wanted to be somebody that could help change the narrative of the people that come from my neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Because I think we just got a bad rep. You know what I mean? We just got a bad rep because of the cards that we were dealt and some of the things that we just succumbed to. But right. Yeah, I knew I wanted to get out, man. I knew I wanted to. It was just like this inner unction. It was like this burning fire. Like I have to do something greater, but also with the reality of thinking that I had no other choice but to just graduate high school and come back to this community, and that was it. So I always had like this dilemma. So I never really knew what I wanted to do. I always knew though that I wanted to help people, but I didn't know what that looked like as far as like a life story, as far as a career, as far as how to live that out fully. And so it took me a lot of different experiences with trying to figure out what that looks like and how to go about that as far as my life is concerned. I started going to the local Boys and Girls Club. And from there, I started getting involved in like community service. And so I'm like, all right, cool. This is helping people. I want to do community service. And they actually kind of tagged me on as I ended up being like the youth of the year in my hometown for like 3 years from the Boys and Girls Club. And because of like community service and things of that sort and getting involved in like high school activities, so forth and so on. So I knew I wanted to help people. So I'm like, all right, cool, community service. But then nobody told me or like how community service could become a career. So I'm like, all right, cool. So this is not a thing. Maybe it's something I can do as leisure or my own time, but I can't do this like for the rest of my life. When then as an older adult, I'm like, all right, cool. You definitely can do, service as a career. But nobody was telling me these things. So then I was like, okay, cool. I have a mentor. Right, I have a mentor at the Boys and Girls Club. Maybe I can become a mentor. So I wanted to become a mentor. And then I was trying to figure out how does that look for the rest of my life. And nobody was telling me these things. And so then I ended up really becoming really close with my high school guidance counselor who saved my life. Let me say this. Miss Joyce Sessoms, I call her my mom. She really saved my life and changed the course of the direction I was going because, she just was. I have to get into that in another part, but she was just that lady who really saved my life.
If we can, I want to get into that right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I too believe that a guidance counselor, just like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
She probably wasn't on the front page of anybody's magazine, but she changed the course of your life. Let's unbox that right now.
Absolutely. So, listen, I was in school. I definitely, I can remember from the second grade, just getting in trouble in school. Mm-hmm. Attitude, anger. At one point, actually, I was in the anger management class in elementary school. I think I started that class in like third grade. And fourth grade, I probably spent more time in the guidance counselor's office than I did in the actual classroom. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Because I was that kind of a kid, to be honest with you. It hurts to say it.
The guidance counselor's office.
Yeah, man, it hurts to say it sometimes, but I legitimately when I'm going to tell you, I was giving my mom a run for her money. You hear me? She always had to come to the school, leave work, coming to the school because I was doing something. I was saying something. I mean, I was to the point where I was calling teachers by their first name, just, being very just like belligerent, disrespectful, defiant. So that carried on all the way throughout, middle school, high school. I would call, teachers by their first name. Just disrespectful, man. Like, it wasn't good at all.
It's not funny either. It's not funny. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's definitely, it wasn't good. It wasn't, it just, I don't know what I was getting from it, to be honest with you. But I was doing what I felt like was true to who I was at that time in that place in my life. And I really, I think I lacked emotional, the ability to really effectively express my emotions. So I was angry about something. I was upset about something, but I didn't know how to express it effectively. So my only way of expressing it was hurting other people. And that's really how it showed up in my personality. Which is also crazy because contrary to that, I love people and I love to help people. So I was always in this dilemma of hurting people, but loving to help people too. So I think my 10th grade year of high school, I had gotten into a lot of trouble within my first marking period of school. I was like maxed out of trouble at that point. Detentions and suspensions and all of that, getting sent out of class, things of that sort. And so my guidance counselor, she ended up, because she's very familiar with my family. We actually attended the same church growing up. She's very familiar with my mother, things of that sort. So she called me to the office. I went to her classroom. I went to her office, and she said these words to me, and it really did change my life. She said, "Listen," she said, "you don't even realize the level of influence you have. Like, you're everything that you're doing, you're leading people and influencing people to do the wrong things and in the wrong direction. If you switch that and change that, how many people's lives can you change and influence into the right direction?" And it was that conversation that just changed everything for me. It was that realness, you know what I'm saying? That conversation that really changed everything for me. I think that I just became more invested in kind of trying to become more self-disciplined and trying to learn better ways of handling myself, spending more time in her office, not because I was in trouble, but because I wanted to change the trajectory of how I think about things, how I go about things. I wanted to get into college at that point because before that wasn't really even something I was entertaining. So, that she really changed, Miss Sessoms changed just my whole perspective and really helped change the trajectory of my life. Absolutely.
I think that's great. And I think that is a story that so many of us can relate to. We're going to talk about the types of conversations that help people turn their lives around. We'll be right back after this brief message. All right. America's Next Motivator, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network. And we're back. Charles, how you feeling out there?
Hey, man, I'm feeling great. I feel amazing.
That's good. That's good. So, yeah, right back into it. Do you think that we need to have more conversations with young people who appear to be going in the wrong direction about how they can turn things around?
Absolutely, man. I think that everything starts with a conversation. It's kind of hard to expect anybody to apply any real type of change to their lives absent of a conversation. I think that conversations can bring clarity. I think they can bring understanding. I think that they allow someone the space and the opportunity to get to know who you are and to get to ask questions and to give answers or to share their story, to let you know really where they're coming from. I don't think that anything is by happenstance. I think that people, we are very malleable. So I think that we really do become who we are, whether we consider it to be negative or positive based off the experiences that we have. And so we have an experience in life. We feel like it's kind of hard to expect someone who might have been dealt a really bad deal. It's kind of hard to just expect that person to just in and of themselves come out and be like this stellar, polished person. I think sometimes it takes a conversation. I think sometimes it takes leadership, or sometimes it takes somebody affirming them or believing in them or taking them under their wing and mentoring them. I think sometimes it does take those different things to be a part of what that looks like as far as recreation.
If I took a canoe and I pulled that canoe with no oars to the water, and I pushed it out into the water, that canoe, quite naturally, it would go all types of ways. It might flip. It might even break in the water. But ultimately, that canoe is going to fail in the water. I see young people. I see children. I see all people as that canoe. That canoe, which if it's not given tools, if it's not given oars, if it's not shown proper orientation and ways and lessons that it needs to navigate the waters of life, it's bound to fail. Doesn't matter if the canoe or if the person has humble beginnings, poor beginnings, or rich beginnings. It's about, are we providing the proper orientation and what you would call survival skills to people? And then I'm thinking, what happens when we don't have the effective conversation, when we don't equip people with the proper tools? Is that what turns into mental illness? Talk to me.
I think that there are so many factors that plays into mental illness. I think that it's definitely important to make the separation between mental health and mental illness. I think sometimes we can make the two terms the same. And so somebody's mental health is legitimately and literally the status of their mentality, right? And that's just like, it's no different than somebody's physical health. I think sometimes we make mental health this abstract, obscene object, when in reality it is synonymous and it is the same stature as your physical health. I think we've created a norm rather out of taking care of our physical health because we go to the checkup doctor every year. We get physicals taken care of. We'll go to get our eyes checked out. We'll go to the dentist and every 6 months, whatever. So we've taken a norm to our physical health, but then when it comes to our mental health, we get scared. Right? We don't want to have the conversations. We make it this obscene thing. A lot of times because the stigma's connected to it, a lot of times people connect mental health to, that's not me because, I'm not crazy.
Right. Now, is that the product of not having transparent conversations about mental health with young people when they're young? Hey, listen, I'm going to take you to the playground today because I want you to run for your physical health. We do that. Hey, I want you to eat vegetables because it's good for your digestive health. We do that.
Right.
Do we do the types of activities that will give way to proper mental health? And do we say, hey, we're doing this for your mental health?
Yeah.
No.
We definitely don't. I can say that. Well, I've been learning more recently that a lot more schools actually have been a lot more in tune with a child's mental health and their emotional intelligence. And so I think that that's really good. But as far as like, the generations from growing up, because there's a huge gap. I mean, mental health and things of that sort became like this fad a few years ago. And so now it's getting incorporated into schools. They're doing motivation in the morning. They're doing a meditation in the morning with the kids before they start school to help them kind of like free their minds from anything that they might have experienced before they even got there. So, we have generations of people who didn't have that, who lived lives absent of the conversation about mental health and mental illnesses and things of that sort. And so, I think we definitely missed the mark in a whole slew of people who could have benefited from having these conversations about, what does it mean to have emotional regulation? How do I do that? How do I effectively take some deep breaths to relieve myself of this negative emotion that I'm experiencing right now? How can I be better at stress management? How can I better cope with my and manage my anger? These are different conversations that a lot of generations that are here and gone have not had, whereas the children today are having more of these conversations, and which is really good, and I'm thankful for it. But we have a lot of people who are still here who have been living life absent of those conversations.
Yeah, and I think that the big industries, the parental organizations in our communities have to now step in to teach people about mental health, because we've not been doing it on our own at an organic level. So now, they have to step in and introduce us to concepts that we absolutely need, because guess what happens? If you've never been taking care of your mental health, because you haven't done the activities and had the conversations that say mental health on the front of them, then one day you're going to be a strong man, whether you're black, white, or any other ethnicity. One day you're going to be a strong woman, whether you're black, white, or any other ethnicity, and you're going to be a formidable force. Guess what? If you want to take yourself and you want to tear another person down, you're going to have the power to do that. If a few of you want to come together and tear up the neighborhood, you're going to have the power to do that. In fact, if we allow mental health to just run amok, then we're all doomed.
Yeah.
Why? Because people are powerful.
Yeah.
So when you see big organizations stepping in to do other types of work, you at some point you got to look and say, hey, we got to be talking about mental health at home as well.
Sure. I think another thing too that is an issue when we talk about just the stigma behind mental health, and just how we've made it like contrary, a contrast to it being, connected to our physical health. I think that our families have become okay with knowing that we have like this family history of cancer, or we have this family history of diabetes. Like those illnesses, physical illnesses that are very detrimental to somebody's life. I think that we have become we become okay with those diagnoses, right? We could say, oh yeah, my auntie has cancer, or my mother has high blood pressure or hypertension. So those diagnoses become a little bit more palatable to us over time. Whereas nobody wants to be diagnosed with depression. Nobody wants to be diagnosed with anxiety. When I'm like, okay, so why is it okay for you to go to this doctor for this checkup, and you can walk away being okay with them telling you, not necessarily being okay with it, but you can accept them telling you that you're diagnosed with high blood pressure or type 2 diabetes, but you won't go to get a psychological evaluation to see if maybe you do have depressive symptoms, or maybe you are bipolar. And I think that sometimes people take away from the okayness of these things. It is okay, right? If you are diagnosed with depression, it is okay if you're diagnosed with anxiety or PTSD or any other traumatic diagnosis or anything. It's okay if you're diagnosed with bipolar. You can still live life with these experiences, just like you can live life with diabetes and cancer. They give you a diet to go based off of, and different things that you have to modify, to continue to live a healthy life. It's the same thing with mental disorders. You can still live your life with diabetes. I mean, you can still live your life with depression, with anxiety, with PTSD, with bipolar. You just have certain modifications that you're going to have to apply to your life to be able to live that life out fully.
And I'm going to say this as well. Yolanda Riley says it's a taboo topic in the African American community, and I agree. It goes directly to what you're saying. And what we're on to today is that it doesn't need to continue to be a taboo conversation. It needs to become a fundamental conversation about who you are and what you are. The mental aspect of you is absolutely huge. Mm-hmm. And it already is a strike against us that the mental aspect of you is invisible. So that's the aspect of you that we need to be out there claiming and working on. Now, when somebody is diagnosed with cancer, you might get into holistic health. You might get into finding ways to try to reverse that. When you get gout, you find ways to understand it and reverse it. If you have a mental health issue, I think that you need to own it, claim it, get the documentation to verify it, and then you need to figure out a way to reverse it. Do you think that mental health can be made a better thing?
Absolutely. I think that mental health can definitely be made a better thing. I think it's important for us to know that just like doctors of physical health have best practices, doctors of mental health and practitioners of mental health also focus based off of and work based off of best practices. So when you go and you get yourself a qualified clinician, a qualified mental health counselor, a qualified psychologist, they are going to discuss with you about best practices on how you can live your life out, in the fullest way possible. I think another thing that comes into play is that not everybody needs to be medicated when it comes to these mental health disorders. And I think sometimes that can become the scarcity of it. Sometimes there are definitely very applicable coping skills that you can practice in your daily life that can improve your experience with concerning your mental health. So not everybody needs medication, but then some people are going to need that assistance of medication. We call it medication management. And so just like it's okay to go take medication for diabetes, or just like it's okay to go take medication for cancer or for hypertension and high blood pressure or inflammation and things of that sort, it can be okay to take medication for depression, anxiety, or anything of that sort if it's necessary. And so I think that we have to just become okay with the fact that, mental health is a very normal experience in our lives, and it's a part of our lives. It's nothing that we can get away from. Actually, trying to ignore it makes it worse.
Yeah. I think that you just said two really big things there. First of all, it's something that we need to really get out in front of. It's a huge thing. We need to go out there and we need to claim it. See, like right now, if I'm not eating right, I can forecast that I might need to go for certain types of doctor visits early. I might need to be checked for cancer before I'm 40 years old. I might need to be checked for atrophies in my body before I'm 40 years old because of the way that I might be eating. So I can claim that. I can say, when I go to the doctor, I'm going to tell the doctor, hey, I want you to, check my organs and make sure that I'm okay because I'm not vegan right now. We need to take the same approach to our mental health. We need to say, I have a hard time paying attention. Let me find out if I actually have ADD or ADHD. I am always down and out. Let me go find out if I'm suffering from depression. We need to get out there. We need to claim it. We need to say, hey, world out there, I'm suffering from depression and I'm trying to figure out how to reverse it. Hey, world out there, I'm dealing with anxiety and I need to help me figure out how to reverse it. We need to be vocal about it, and we need to get out in front of our mental health. And like you said, if we don't begin to deal with it, it gets worse.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime we try to ignore it, it definitely it's what is not attended to becomes uncontrollable. And so if we don't pay attention to our mental health experience, it has the liberty to do whatever it wants to do. That's just like if you talk about somebody who's experiencing cancer, if they don't get treated for that cancer runs through their body and does whatever it wants to do, and can affect them however it wants to. And so it is definitely important. And I have to say this too. I think that, these conversations about mental health are imperative to our children. Yes, they're imperative to adults and people who are well into their adulthood, but these conversations about mental health are vital to have with our children, about mental and emotional health, mental and emotional coping skills. It is absolutely vital and a necessity to have these conversations with these kids. I'll say this: I was well into my adulthood when I was actually in a master's program for counseling, when I finally realized that I suffered from trauma, when I finally realized that I was experiencing depression. It took me well into my adulthood, being into a master's program, before I came to the realization that from childhood, different things that I saw, I was exposed to, and I experienced had traumatic effects and depressive effects on my life and my view of myself and the world and other people.
That's right.
Like I can remember being a kid and just watching just a lot of like racism happening and just watching a lot of different things going on with like people fighting and just shooting and having to sleep on the floor because, people are shooting outside the window. And then, going into my adulthood, the very moment that a cop, pulls up behind my car, my heart is literally like beating so fast to the point where I can barely breathe. And I didn't realize, I didn't know where that came from. And so it took me being into a master's program concerning counseling where they actually, I don't want to say made us, but they highly encouraged us to get into counseling ourselves. And so when I did, I was able to reflect and realize like, okay, so the way that I react to this today has to do with how I experienced such and such when I was 6 or when I was 12, or when I saw this happen to my brother when I was 16, or, different things of that sort. Mm-hmm. So, we can never discount how a child experiences something. Right. If a child is exposed to a physical fight, we might say, oh, that, she'll be all right, or he'll be all right. It was just a fight. But you don't know how that child is internalizing what they just saw.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I mean?
That's right. Into something else, into their teenage years, into their adulthood. You don't know if that causes them to retract and not want to express themselves. So we have a lot of people who have issues with teenagers not wanting to talk about certain things, not wanting to be more vocal or communicate how they feel. But we have to take into account, like, hey, what did my child experience in their lives, and how did that affect them, and be okay with them being who they are, and make it more comfortable for them to have conversations about these certain things instead of expecting them to hide it.
Right. Adding to that, I think that nothing balances you out like a good family assembly.
Sure.
You might be thinking, how do I have a conversation about mental health with my child? My child is not really ready for the vocabulary term mental health. How do I have a conversation with my child about emotional regulation and co-regulation? My child might not be ready for those vocabulary terms. Well, to make it applicable and even more transferable, families assemblies do this.
Yeah.
When everybody's coming over to your house for a Sunday dinner, or when you're getting your whole family together, there are checks and balances that happen that can never be duplicated in a counselor's office. There are ways that even you out. The way that you have to use manners that you wouldn't normally use, because you got 3 or 4, aunties and uncles and relatives in the same room. So now you becoming a different type of person than you might even be in a counselor's office.
Sure.
You get conversations from your uncle. Your uncle, he might be having a drink or two.
Yeah.
But he's telling you what you need to know. He's telling you what you need to know about yourself. That conversation with a cousin, he might be far out there. He might have made a terminal mistake. He might be a felon, but he's giving you information in that living room that you need to know. The little sister, the little cousin. And so the family assembly, I think, is a huge tool for addressing mental health in our communities. Do you agree with me?
I think that the family assembly is definitely an essential tool when we have conversations about mental health, but I think that honesty is definitely the key. I think that, sometimes amongst, if I can remember, and reflect correctly, I think that, it is normal, or it has become normal to have these conversations amongst families like, oh, hey, how you doing? Are people sharing information or things of that sort? But we just say, oh, I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm blessed, I'm great, when that might not necessarily be true.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Maybe I'm not
Right.
okay today, and I need to be able to say
Yep.
that and be amongst people who are going to create a safe space for me to be vulnerable and express that without judgment. And
Yep.
so, you know, I think that the family assembly is definitely can be helpful if we are able to be honest, legitimately honest with what's going on with us with these people.
That's
If I
right.
feel like I have to cover something up, or if I feel like I have to cover something up or give a portion, you know, of what's really going on with me, then that's not necessarily the safest space for me to. But I need to be able to fully give and express whatever it is that's going on with me. Maybe you know, today I'm not doing so well today. You know, I was at work and I had this issue with my boss, and you know they were really talking down to me, and so I don't feel the best today. You need to be able to say that. You know what I'm saying?
And you know what? Not only do you need to be able to say it, people need to be able to respond to you without you getting upset and leaving the room.
Yeah.
People need to be able to respond to you without you getting upset and failing. Don't get upset and fail.
Yeah.
Allow a direct conversation. You need to shoot a straight shot to me, and I need to shoot a straight shot to you, and we need to come to a resolution. Yeah. I learned that in the barbershop.
Yeah.
You know, I learned it at home too, but I also learned it in the barbershop. You know, real quick, because we're rounding third base, I want to also include the fact that I understand that there are 400,000 youth in the foster care system today, and all of them, most of them, many of them, too many of them, don't have the luxury of a family assembly.
Sure.
Let me tell you something. This is why I'm creating the Pride Empowerment Network. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. Our objective is to create a place and create a space where you can have some family. It's why we started America's Next Motivator. So yeah, you don't have a cousin named Charles Sneed, but you tune into America's Next Motivator and you're being influenced by a gentleman named Charles Sneed. In fact, for those of you who might be here today but wasn't here yesterday or any time before, I'm gonna play a brief commercial for you, and then we're gonna be right back for the wrap up with Charles Sneed. Thanks, Charles, for being here today.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think this has been a phenomenal conversation from Charles. You came and you provided your story, and we still got comments coming in. Yolanda Riley says, we know when our family members are not okay, so we have to do a better job to give, offer, or encourage some level of support. Sure. I totally agree with that. And I just got 3 final questions from you, Charles.
Sure.
My first question for you is, what is survival to you?
Ooh, okay. So survival to me is taking what you have and maximizing it. It's taking whatever cards you're dealt and making it a winner. You know what I mean? It is work ethic. It is discipline. It is humility. But I think more than anything, it's taking whatever it is that you have and making the best of it, and maximizing that to your best potential.
What is success to you?
Oh man, success to me is the ability to, I would have to say, it's the ability to achieve some type of a goal, regardless of whatever stature it's on. I don't care if it's, you know, for the rest of this week, I'm going to wake up at 8:00, and for the rest of the week, I wake up at 8:00, I'm successful.
That's right.
don't care if it's I do want to go to a Fortune. I do want to become a manager of a Fortune 500 company. I start to create the steps to get there. Or I don't care if it's I want to become the manager at McDonald's, and 5 years from now I become the manager at McDonald's. That is success. So creating a goal of any sort.
That's right. What is greatness to you?
Greatness to me is within. It's about how I feel. How I view myself, life, others, the world, and I think it's how I live that out in my everyday life. It's how I make people feel.
You know what? Real quick, we got 10 seconds left. You created an event called the Brown Brothers Brunch. Where can people find out more information about that?
Oh, so I actually have a website. It's called colormymind.com. It's COLOURMYMIND.com. And so they can go to the website and actually learn a little bit more about what Color My Mind is and what we're seeking to do as far as creating comfortable spaces and safe spaces for communities to have conversations about mental health. And so what I started doing about a year or so ago is creating these brunches that are very traditionalized brunches, but ultimately are seeking the purpose to normalize conversations about mental health in our communities. And so Brown Brothers Brunch is just that. This one is geared and centered around men who are Black, brown, or of a cultured community to come together and have conversations about our identity, who we are, and our mental health in our community.
Okay. Charles, I want to let you know again that I appreciate you. I want to let you know that I've listened to your story. I see your journey, and I think that it's extremely commendable. You turned your life around, and now here you are influencing the world and your community directly. I want to give you a crown today while you're still living. We still got comments coming into the building. I want to let you know I respect you, and I look forward to big things from you in the future. You, Charles Sneed, you are America's next motivator.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that for sure. Absolutely appreciate that.
Thanks for stopping by, all right?
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I look forward to connecting again.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we got to go. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. You just got to stop by. You got to stop by, though, and pick it up.